Liz Green live at breakfast.
BBC Radio Leeds.
Well, he put something on his website that proved to be incredibly controversial. And later today, David Ward, the Bradford East MP, Liberal Democrats, will face the chief whips to explain the comments he made about the Holocaust. But he's here first, and I'm glad. Good morning.
Good morning, Liz.
Do you regret any of this?
No. I regret that many people have wanted to divert the debate to an area that was never intended. Sort of people were offended by my comments, and I'm sorry about that. I would do that in any situation, but I really want to get the debate back. If people want to continue with this debate, I'm happy to do that. Can we get back to the main issue that I was raising?
Maybe the timing, do you regret, in that has given those who were offended by what you wrote and are still offended by it. It was, for them, I get the sense doubly so, because of Holocaust Memorial Day yesterday. And so not only have you been accused of anti-Semitism, but also of insensitivity and inappropriateness. Do you accept any of that?
Well, when better, which particular day of the year would the State of Israel prefer that I criticise them? There will never be a good day for them. The essence of the day is really about, obviously, remembering, and I've put this in my statement, remembering the just horrific suffering that the Jews went through during the Holocaust, but also to learn the lessons for the future. And that's really what I was directing my comments. And what does learning really, really mean, to have such an horrific experience, and yet to be in a situation now where the State of Israel is suppressing the Palestinians, and that was the link.
OK, are you anti-Semitic?
No, that was ridiculous. I've said that this part of the debate, you see we're doing it already, Liz, which is what many people want us to do, is to talk about whether I'm anti-Semitic or not.
Well, you made the statement.
Yes, and I've said, oodles of time, no, I was not referring to every single Jew on the planet. That would have been racist. No, Gaza is not Auschwitz. That would be foolish. Can we now get on to what I was talking about, was where is the evidence of learning of lessons when you look at what is happening in Palestine and the treatment of the Palestinians?
Well, maybe then it was clumsily framed, because it's all right saying, oh, it's wrong, but you did make the statements. Yes, you have issued a statement. You're going to be before the chief whip later, who might not be as understanding.
You cannot go into this area without many people interpreting it the way that they want to direct the debate to what they want the debate to be on, and away from what they do not want to talk about, which is, someone has described it to me as the cruel irony that what is taking place now in the State of Israel, who would have thought it after the suffering that has gone on in the past?
OK, let me bring in Rabbi Jason Kleiman, who is in a synagogue at Street Lane in Leeds, listening to you, looking at the debate. Rabbi, good morning.
Good morning, Liz.
What would you like to say to David Ward? He's here.
Well, what I'd like to say is the following. I'm going to quote David. He says, "For my entire political career, I have fought prejudice." Now, if you are fighting prejudice, you have to be even-handed. Is it acceptable for Israelis to live within 15 to 30 seconds of the closest bomb shelter? Is it acceptable that people who are in their homes, they're not part of military operations, they're living in a neighbourhood such as Kiryat Malachi, where 3 Israelis lost their lives, Aaron Smadja, Itzhak Shalem, Miriam Sharf, purely because they were Israelis. They weren't living in disputed territory. They were victim of rockets.
Yeah, what question do you want to ask,
David? My question is, why don't you fight against the prejudice against those people simply because they are Israelis? Why be selective?
All right, David.
But the answer is I do, and I've criticised Hamas, I've criticised rockets are not sought in any way, which some people do, to say, well, look at the oppression that the people are facing in Gaza, and therefore you can understand why. I haven't said any of that. Firing one single rocket, which could threaten the lives of innocent people, is wrong. I condemn that absolutely, unequivocally, but people sometimes pick out the bits that they want to listen to.
Rabbi.
Well, let me put it this way, David. The attention is on your criticism of Israel and
that's
its inhumane treatment without giving any evidence or basis of what you're talking about, and mentioning it in the same breath as learning lessons from the Holocaust. I'm not aware of Israelis incinerating women and children in ovens, and yet you're talking in the same breath as Holocaust as the inhumane treatment, which you haven't backed up what you're talking about. You haven't given the context as to why Israel has to take the defensive measures it does. You haven't mentioned the intolerance that in Palestinian schools they don't even recognise that Israel exists.
Is that fair enough then, David?
And all of that is wrong. I've just said very clearly, everybody must have heard it, Gaza is not Auschwitz, and yet immediately you come back and talking about incinerating people. This is the point I'm making, Liz.
Can't you understand, David, that if you're going to mention the Holocaust and then use it as a means to criticise Israel, there's going to be an association due to you, because instead of mentioning this issue on its own terms, separate from Holocaust Memorial Day, you as a politician should know that if you're talking about tolerance, then there has to be tolerance towards Israelis as well as Palestinians.
We're just going around in circles here, aren't we? I've said what I've said. I've said over and over again exactly what I meant. I'm talking about the lessons that were learned and the real meaning of learning lessons. And I believe there's clear evidence. I'm quite happy to move on to that topic, which is my topic, about the evidence about the suppression and oppression of Palestinians. Very happy to talk about that. But what we're continuously referring back to is really attacks on the main message I was making about failure to learn lessons.
Do you believe you might be disciplined later, David? Because the reaction to this is huge.
Well, it's bound to be. It's a controversial subject.
It is. Do you think you will be disciplined?
I don't believe so. I believe that the Chief Whip is very robust in his dealings with me when he needs to be. He will make his views known to me, but I hope that he will respect my views as I respect his views, and that he will accept that what I said, I felt because of the strongness of my feelings on this issue, and hopefully then we can move on.
Thank you. David Ward, who is the Liberal Democrat MP for Bradford East, and thank you, Rabbi Jason Kleeman, for being with us as well from the synagogue, one of them that he works in large congregations.